Hi everybody, this is Aisha and I have a book talk for you guys today, and my book talk will be focused on math in picture books. Now you might think that math in picture books, that doesn't make any sense. Well, actually it makes perfect sense because as you'll notice, a lot of the books for babies and toddlers, the little board books and simplified books like that, there's a lot of counting books. There's like tons and tons of different books you'll find on counting with numbers and objects. So you'll see the numeral printed in the book along with a group of objects, and gradually you can teach your child how to count by reading books like that. And then eventually, after they learn how to count in the book, then they learn how to count things that they see outside of the book. And so today I'm going to be covering books that incorporate math for older kids, for about preschool age through 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And I have several books for each age level. And the first one that I wanted to highlight is called Who Eats First? And this is by Aisha, and it's an older book, which is actually a part of a book series that that covers math concepts. And so it covers comparing, sorting, and measuring. And it incorporates that into the story. So it's not like a totally separate thing, kind of like, and it's not, when you read it, it doesn't even matter if you're not looking for math, you'll find a math lesson and math concepts in this book, and it makes it fun. So the story is actually about a bunch of different animals who find this big, luscious peach. And of course, all the animals are hungry, but they start arguing over who gets to be the first to take a bite of this big peach. And the way that they do that, one animal comes up with, I should be the first one to bite the peach because I'm the biggest, so I should be the first. And then another one says, no, I should be the first because I'm the tallest, and so on. And as you're reading, you and your children will see that it shows how the animals are involved in measuring. And so your kid will learn the importance of measurement and comparison. When you take two or more things and you look at the ways that they're the same and you look at the ways that they're different. Those are all important math concepts. And in the back of the book, after the story, there's actually questions, and there's an extra part here that kind of gives you more information about the different concepts that were covered in the story. So I really like this book, and I highly recommend it for kids preschool through maybe 1st grade. The second book that I have here in my stack is called When Sophie Thinks She Can't. And it's a book by Molly Bang. And Molly Bang has written several different books with the character Sophie in them. And another Sophie book is When Sophie Gets Angry, Really, Really Angry. And a third Sophie book is When Sophie's Feelings Are Really, Really Hurt. So as you can see from the titles of the different books in the series, that most of the Sophie books cover stories where Sophie is learning how to deal with and manage her feelings. And in this one, When Sophie Thinks She Can't, this one takes place in her classroom. So Sophie's in school. Her teacher has given the kids a project where each student has to create a rectangle. So a rectangle shapes, that's a math concept. But the trick is each kid has to create a rectangle out of whatever they've been given. Some of them have been given like little things, objects to do this with. Some of them just have pencil and paper, or some of them just have to come up with a different way, create their own way to make a rectangle. But the trick is that each kid has to do it in a completely different way. So of course, Sophie thinks this is really hard. I can't do it, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she learns the lesson through the story that how important it is to keep trying, don't give up. Practice, practice, practice makes perfect. But also, the interesting part of the book, another interesting part of the book, is that you also learn different ways to make rectangles. So I recommend this book as well for incorporating a math concept while also keeping it as a part of a nicely flowing story. And I recommend this for preschool through first grade. And the third book I have that I want to recommend for this age group is Pitter Pattern. And this is by Joyce Hesselberth. And it's a book about patterns. And also, if your kid is learning, it's a good way to learn the days of the week. And in this book, the main character is just going through her week. She starts on Sunday, and then she goes through each day, and she sees patterns in everything that she does and things that she sees. And like there's one day where she visits her grandmother, and she sees patterns in the quilt that her grandmother has made. And then there's one day where she's going out to play with her brother, and they're putting on and taking off their rain gear, and then there's a pattern in the way that they make those movements, they do that activity. And so there are patterns that in the way that you speak, there are patterns in the things that you see, and there are patterns in the things that you do. And so that's a very important math concept that kind of gets kids ready to learn about grouping, which also gets them ready to learn about multiplication eventually. So this is a pretty cool book about patterns. And also the days of the week, because there's a different pattern for each day of the week in the story. And so like here's an example of that, where she's counting the sheep as she's going to sleep, and then there's a pattern in the sheep. And I would recommend this book for ages, for preschool through first grade as well. And so now moving on to kids who are a little bit older, who are already maybe in first grade or so, I would recommend Infinity and Me. And this is by Kate Hosford. And as in the title, this book is talking about infinity. So the infinity is the concept of there's numbers, there's no end to numbers. There's no highest number, there's no last number. And a lot of kids that's a really complicated thing to kind of understand. And in this story, the main character just kind of uses her imagination to think about all the different ways that, things that would change, or how things would be different, or just what the world would look like if everything went on forever and nothing ever ended. And I think it's a good way to engage your kids in using their imagination while also teaching them about this very important math concept. So I would recommend this for maybe first through third graders. Of course, if you have a younger child that is ready to learn about this concept, feel totally free to read this book with them, and you can have lots of discussions, and you can incorporate it into other things. It's just always makes it a fun way to learn. And the next book I have for this age group is it's called The Missing Math, a number mystery, and it's by Lauren Leedy. And it actually is a mystery story. I love mysteries. And basically in the story, it covers all kinds of math, and pretty much every different way that we use numbers in our daily lives. And so the characters in the book, they wake up one day to find that all the numbers have disappeared. So all the numbers in books, all the numbers outside on street signs, and numbers on houses for the address numbers and buildings, numbers in recipes, numbers on the clocks, everything, all the numbers have disappeared, and they have to figure out what happened, what is going on, what happened to all the numbers, where did they go to? And so, of course, by the end of the story, the mystery is solved. So I think this is a very fun way to learn about just all the different ways and how important numbers are to all of us. And I would recommend this for kindergartners through first grade. And now for books for older kids, for maybe second grade through fifth grade, give or take a couple of years. And the first book is actually a book that we shelve it in our nonfiction section, and it's called Math Appeal. And it's by Greg Tang. And Greg Tang is a very popular author who has written several different books on math. And there's The Grapes of Math, Math for All Seasons, and The Best of Times. And this book, like his others, cover different math subjects. And so it covers grouping, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. And it does that pretty much in riddles and rhymes and patterns, and just kind of like there's a problem to solve, or a brain teaser on every page, like this one. And so each page is a different activity, and I think your kids would have a lot of fun going through this book and trying to figure out how to solve the riddle on each page. And never fear, the answers are in the back if you have any problems with it. I went through a couple of them and I thought, okay, I need to refresh some things. But I would recommend this for maybe second or third graders. And of course, if you have younger kids, or if you have older kids who need a little help, or if they're kind of discouraged about doing math and they need extra practice, I would recommend this for older kids as well, who need a little extra help and practice, and it as a way to make math fun, and so it's not a bunch of drudgery for them if it's not their favorite thing to do. And the next book I have for this age group that I want to recommend is called Arithmetical, and it is by J. Patrick Lewis. And it's also another book that has a lot of riddles and brain teasers and word problems. And I know a lot of people do not like word problems, but this actually makes them fun. And it covers most math functions, and it has answers in the back as well. And each page has something a little different. So here's a riddle, and it's something that you have to think about. Your kid might have to think about, or they might have to take a minute or two to figure it out, but it's not too difficult. You can help them work it out. You can do it together, and this is a great book. This is another great book to make math fun, and I would recommend it for grades 3 through 5. And the last book I have for my math in picture books is actually a storybook. So it's actually a picture book. And it's by the popular author John Shishka, and it's called Math Curse. Dun, dun, dun. And as it says in the title, it's kind of the main character in the story is going through a bit of a nightmare in which it seems that everything he does throughout the course of a day has turned into a math problem. And this book covers every kind of math that I could think of, or that I've ever learned. And so by the end of the day, he's just, every little thing that he thinks of or that he does is, oh, I have to figure this out. I can't go on. I can't do the next thing that I have to do until I figure out this problem, or, how many eggs are in a dozen, how many numbers are on the clock, or how many hours would it take for me to brush my teeth and wash my hair and read a book. It's all kinds of craziness like that. And so it's just chock full of activities, and there's like 3 or 4 different situations on each page, and there is guidance for you, so the answers are there in the book as well if you have problems, or if it's a bit of a challenge for the adults. But this is a great book, and I would recommend it for grades 3 through 5, but it's got so much stuff in there that you could do this with older kids too. You could read this book or go back to it not just for the story's sake, but just to pick out a random problem or word problem or riddle or brain teaser and try to figure it out. And so these are the math books, math and picture books that I would recommend highly for you to read with your kids. And thank you for watching my book talk. And if you want more information for upcoming events and programs at the library, just visit our website, smplibrary.org.